everybody, welcome back to the show. A lot of you remember when the film Alive came out, and also there's a book of the same name, and a lot of people were very affected by that amazing story.
Yeah, we have two of them here right now. Megan Bennett is joining us along with her husband Michael Eklund, of course a well-known actor, and they've just returned from a visit to the Andean crash site of Alive, but there is a lot more to this story than just that. So Megan, why don't we start with you? Tell us why this has had such an effect on your life.
Well, it's really hard to say specifically. As soon as I saw the movie back when I was in high school, I immediately went out and read the book. I did all sorts of research, try to find out as much as I could about the story and about the survivors now and sort of what's gone on in their lives.
For those who might not remember, the refresher on the crash, where it happened, Michael, maybe you can just give us the brief version.
It was 35 years ago in 1972, and it was a rugby team that had 45 passengers on the plane.
Yep.
And they were traveling to Chile to play in a tournament, and they went off course and the plane hit one of the mountains in the Andes.
And they were stranded for how many days?
72 days.
72 days. And this story is probably the ultimate story of human survival, friendship, all those other things.
Yeah.
So how did you actually get to go on this trip to visit the crash site? I mean, this is...
Yeah, not sort of your usual vacation destination,
no,
really.
honey, what do you want to do this year?
Exactly.
Michael's a very understanding husband.
I know, that's exactly right. I actually was researching on the internet. We were lucky enough to drive down to Portland and meet one of the survivors. He wrote a book a few years ago, and that sort of got me thinking again about you know, what the survivors are doing now and things like that. So in doing research, I discovered actually the website of this trip, and it's a mountaineer who organizes the expeditions along with Eduardo Strauch, one of the survivors.
Wow, so you went with one of the survivors,
yeah,
and you have some pictures that we're going to look at. Maybe you can walk us through where you were and the whole journey that you went through.
So this is our group, and we're actually stopped on the road on the way into the mountains, and we're actually looking at the crash site at the back. The white peaks at the back is actually where the plane itself crashed and where the survivors lived for the 72 days.
So Michael, geographically, because a lot of people might not remember the details of the book, but how close is this to sort of any sort of civilization?
I'd say it's about 50 miles from the closest small town, which has a hostel and like a corner store, so you're miles away from any civilization.
So when these guys got blown off course, I mean, first of all, they had no idea where they were.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, how often when you're in a plane do you know exactly where you are at any given moment, right?
Yeah, how close am I? What direction should I walk?
That's right.
You know,
where would I go if something goes wrong?
So how many people were on this trip with you? And there are people that have signed up for this? And
yeah, there were 13 of us in the group, and then along with the survivor and a couple of his family members and some guides and gauchos, the Spanish cowboys that deal with the horses and sort of
And how long was the journey in and out? And I'm assuming you had to go up to a higher elevation. So how long did the whole thing take?
Yeah, well, we drove into the Andes sort of into the foothills of the Andes. We got on horseback, and it's 2 days on horseback. It's one day up to base camp at 9,000 feet, and then another day up to the memorial.
How are you feeling about after 2 days on horseback, Michael?
Well, this is our second time that we've done this trip, so it prepared us for this year's trip. So. You know, and I've done some horse experience and, you know, the acting stuff I've done.
Still,
so that helped.
There's nothing quite like
that. Nothing compares to
and riding a horse
the
up
terrain
a mountain.
Of going
now, explain this, because this is a little bit deceiving to, you know, the actual photograph, but the slope on this.
It's about a 45-degree angle, and the horses can't even go straight up because it's just loose rock, so we actually have to zigzag back and forth all the way up. It takes about 45 minutes.
Okay, we're going to start seeing some photos of you with Eduardo, who is one of the survivors. Eduardo was part of this trip. How did you get to meet him, or did you have a chance to talk to him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we spent basically the better part of 2 weeks with him and with his family, and he's really open about the experience, and he'll answer all of our questions and talk about his experiences, talk about, you know, what it has meant to him in his life and sort of the way that it changed his life. Which
and it must be so eerie. I mean, here we're looking at a photograph of you guys sitting on the wing of the plane.
Is that what that is, Mike?
What was it like to go back with Eduardo and see the crash?
It's very emotional. It's a very emotional experience for everyone. Like, this trip brings people from all over the world to this one location. Like, there's people from Australia and from the United States and from everywhere. And this story is so powerful still after 35 years to bring all these people to one spot. And it's very emotional.
And Megan, you've brought a little piece of something with you. Maybe you can tell us what that is.
There's as you can see, there's debris and stuff from the plane all over the place. Now, this year there was much less snow than normally, and so there was so much more stuff that was discovered.
Global warming!
Yeah, great. So this is actually a piece from the plane. We're not sure exactly what part it's from. They're sort of just scattered all over the place. But it's basically fiberglass. It was probably one of the inside walls or from the overhead bins. And
So
Eduardo let us each take a little piece.
And for him, I mean, I'm going to ask them to flip ahead. This is the sunset. To the picture
Sunrise.
or sunrise of Eduardo and his jacket. Maybe you can tell us the story about that emotional moment that happened.
What sort of the quick version of it is that Ricardo Pena, who runs these expeditions, had done some mountain climbing and had found Eduardo's jacket 3 years ago with the passport and driver's license and stuff inside. And so he actually went back this year to retrieve it and to bring it back to Eduardo.
And we're looking at some footage right now, I think, of the moment he saw the jacket for the first time.
Yeah, this is back at base camp. We returned after spending the night up there. And Ricardo returned the jacket to Eduardo, and this is the first time he's seen it since he boarded the plane and put it in the overhead bin.
And in South America and in many places around the world, I remember the story actually here, this was a massive story. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
This continues to fascinate people.
Oh, absolutely.
Was that emotional for Eduardo? I mean,
it was, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is such an emotional experience for him, and he really needs to return to sort of ground himself again and to try and remember the lessons that they learned through their experience and to kind of go back to what they had been through.
Yeah.
And having the jacket back is just a tangible piece of his experience and something.
Had his passport.
That's right.
in it.
His passport, his wallet, like $10 American, things like that were just in his pocket.
35 years.
35 years later, and it's just
Michael,
been in the snow and rocks
How did you guys
since then.
feel when you came back emotionally? I mean, there must have been so
little
many hot.
draining.
You just got back what, 10 days ago?
We got back
10
10
days, yeah.
days ago, and being there where there's actually nothing lives up on the mountain. There's not a blade of grass or anything. So to come back into the city is very strange at first because the traffic and just the noise. It's just like you miss the mountain. There's something
The
special
silence
about
up there, the
the mountain
grandeur of
that
it.
you just want to get back. Like, so we went last year, and the first thing we did when we got back home was, when are we going to go again?
Yeah.
And so we
Here
did.
you are.
Yeah.
And Megan's an expert on it. She's
Well, and
You should be a historian. You're writing a book.
Yeah, I am, yeah. I've actually promised Eduardo that, that I would write what the story means to me and sort of write the story from the outside. It's been told from the inside. They know what it was like to experience it, and it's been told so well. But I promised him then that I would write sort of what it means to me and what it means to various other people who, you know, the story's had a huge impact on a ton of people. And for them to be able to see that and to be able to see, you know, the impact that their lives have had on people is,
You know,
is
some
pretty
people
insane.
go to all-inclusive resorts in Mexico, you guys. Just
Not
go
us.
to
good call,
Crash.
you guys. Good
right.
call.
I'd like
Sleeping
to.
on a glacier.
but
Next year,
The
go
most
to Mexico.
patient husband on the planet.
I
Well, we'll
love
have
it.
you both
What an
back when you
amazing
write
story.
the book. Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
We're going to
Thanks, you
take a
guys.
break, and when we return, if you have a newborn or a kid at home who's a picky eater and you're worried they're not getting their vitamins, you'll want to stay tuned because we're going to be telling you all about that right after the break. Stay tuned.